Hey, welcome back. It is a terrific Tuesday on Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. And when I say terrific, I mean terrific. It's always terrific on Tuesday, but it's so much better when we're joined in studio by my good friend and the host of Newsmax Now, right here on Newsmax TV. Johnny Bachman joins me today in studio in New York. JB.
Great to see you, JT.
So good to have you here in the little Liquid Lunch outpost. We're trying our best down here. We always appreciate when you grace us with your presence, but so much craziness. You're in town for, the impeachment's happening tomorrow, the Iowa caucuses, and I've been talking about it all day today. It's like one dud after the next for the Democrats, and it looks like tonight Trump is set up to just knock it out of the park with the State of the Union.
Yeah, we've been using this OTS graphic, over-the-shoulder graphic on our show that shows the apprentice logo, but we've been calling it the impeachment because, Donald Trump, I don't think, could have produced a television reality show more perfect. You had the suspense. You're thinking that maybe he's going to be impeached for a while there. It's looking like some of these Republican senators might bring in the witnesses. But, the impeachment's going to die tomorrow with a whimper, not any kind of loud groan. And Donald Trump is going to be standing on that stage tonight delivering the State of the Union address, knowing that you have this confluence of events, the debacle, the travesty that turned out to be the Iowa caucuses, his eventual acquittal on these impeachment charges, and now he gets delivered the State of the Union. I can't imagine a president being in a better position to deliver a State of the Union, especially given what's going on in the economy tonight.
So I have taken to calling him the Teflon Donald because the Mueller probe, he beat him. Kavanaugh, they try to knock him out, he beat him. Impeachment, he beat him. It seems like no matter what they do, they can't stick anything to him.
Yeah, and Democrats will tell you more honestly in private than publicly, but they're very frustrated right now, especially after last night, and the fact that the results are so cloudy with what's going on, and who are they going to put up against Donald Trump? Because, based on what happened in Iowa, everything is very cloudy right now.
Forget it. There are no results from last night, JB, and I mentioned this.
There are results, John, but, they're out there somewhere.
A little earlier in the show, but it appears this app that Iowa was using, there's reports out there now from the Los Angeles Times and others, was created by a tech firm run by a bunch of people who were part of Hillary's team in 2016. So is this going to be another one of those moments where the Bernieites start alleging that they're fixing this thing?
Oh, yeah, it's already started. In politics, number one rule of politics is perception is reality. And the perception from the Bernie Sanders supporters is that they are getting hosed once again. Whether it's this app or whether it's something else, they feel like they're aggrieved in this whole entire process. And you saw this last night when Bernie Sanders' campaign released what they considered the official results, or their exit polls or whatever their polling information that they released showing that they won. They're not going to play by the DNC's rules.
No way. And I've been involved in local politics for a while. In 2016, 170,000 people voted and participated in the caucuses, right? They're talking about there being 1,700 precinct captains across the state of Iowa. So that boils down to like 100 people at each site, right? Why would it take this long to tabulate 100 votes by hand? Here we go. One, yes.
I think what we're watching maybe is the death of the Iowa caucuses. You hear this from Democrats. They're upset because they feel like the electorate in Iowa doesn't properly represent Democrats as a whole across the country. And with what we saw last night, it's hard to put any stock into what the results are. So, the candidates are moving on to New Hampshire. The media is going to move on to talk about New Hampshire. They're going to be talking about the State of the Union tonight. Iowa is over. The results don't really matter. Pete Buttigieg declared victory and got out of town. Bernie Sanders declared victory and got out of town. Joe Biden's left hanging,
supposedly in fourth or fifth place. So you think there's a possibility, and I tend to agree with you, that the Iowa caucus model may go the way of Mr. Peanut.
Yes, Mr. Peanut, who I guess is alive again. I don't know, but
or Baby Peanut, or Baby Yoda.
Look, at Mike Bloomberg's gamble, he bet that he could still do well by infusing his campaign with tons of ads and tons of cash. He's sitting out these early contests, and he's going to bust on the scene for Super Tuesday, for the South Carolina caucus, or South Carolina primary, and the California primary. Those are his big plays. So Joe Biden's going to emerge badly wounded from all this after New Hampshire. Bernie Sanders is probably going to have 2 victories under his belt. Pete Buttigieg is going to be ascendant. Mike Bloomberg's going to jump onto the campaign. We haven't even really started, I think, the Democratic primary until
we get
Super
to Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm a conspiracy theorist a little bit, and I see Hillary's people behind the app, right? We know that Mike Bloomberg made this big gamble that he's not going to go into Iowa or New Hampshire. And he's probably one of the biggest tech giants around. So to me, isn't it coincidental that Hillary's folks were behind the app and we have this massive technology problem
Well,
on
apparently
Iowa
there's
night?
some relationship between Mayor Pete and this app and these folks as well. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can characterize this that don't look good, but it goes back to what I said, perception is reality in politics. And the thing about the Bernie Sanders supporters, the wounds are still fresh from 2016 and what happened to them. They haven't forgot about it yet. And I'm really curious to see how Bernie plays. He's going to give a response to the State of the Union tonight. What is he going to say in that address?
Right.
What kind of message is he going to deliver to the DNC?
There were, all these little exit polls and entrance polls going by, and there was one that stuck out to me. It said 16% of Bernie Sanders voters said they would vote for another Democratic candidate. So it seems like Bernie's team is like Bernie or bust. Everybody else was like 50, 60. If Biden doesn't win, I'll go for another candidate. If Warren doesn't win, but Bernie's number was like, his people, only 16% of them will go for another candidate. That bodes well for Trump, too.
I said this, too, recently. I've been in the room when President Bush was selling the Iraq War, and everybody in that room who showed up to hear him speak, they were in line with what President Bush was saying. I was in the room when Barack Obama was ascending. Everybody in that room followed him like he was a religious figure. You've seen it with Trump at these rallies, too. The only candidate on the Democratic side that has anything close to that is Bernie Sanders. It takes a movement. He has that behind him. The momentum is nothing to shake a stick at.
Well, I can tell you this, we're newcomers here on Newsmax, but there has been a movement from day one. For those of you watching Liquid Lunch like you do every day, if there was no John Bachman,
Oh, come on.
there would be no Liquid Lunch. And he calls me, he guides me, he coaches me. He's one of my dearest friends in television and life, and I want to thank you so much for coming down here, my friend.
Plug the show tonight, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Congresswoman Debbie Lesko will be on. We'll also have Emerald Robinson from Washington, D.C. talking about the State of the Union, and John Gizzi, Newsmax's very own, in Iowa still to try and talk to us about this mess that they got to clean up.
You gotta tune in tonight. You gotta tune into Newsmax all day. You just leave the TV on Newsmax, but you gotta tune in tonight at 6 o'clock.
And then
for
State of the
Johnny
Union
B's
coverage.
Take. You got the State of the Union coverage, and don't forget, coming up right after Liquid Lunch today, National Report with Bob Sellers and Allison Maloney are going to be right here to give you all the news you ever wanted and more. We're going to take a quick break. You pop open a cold Corona to fight off that coronavirus, and we'll be back right after this.